Welcome to Oh Brother, a podcast of three brothers trying to figure it all out, with your hosts, Brandon, Colin, and Aaron. On this week's show, I just have to be there. Ahoy!
Ahoy!
Ahoy! How's it going?
I'm ready for it to be less than 90 degrees. That would be really excellent.
I would really appreciate it if it were less than 90 degrees and less than 115% humidity. Just me personally.
Yeah, that's true.
Me personally, I'd rather...
It's not helping.
It's so bad. Oh my gosh. It's 94 right now.
Yeah, it's gross.
I'm shockingly not okay with that.
I don't know how our Arizona friends are alive.
Yeah.
I met a bunch of people from Arizona this summer.
Oh.
I hope that they're okay.
No, I think they have all just melted back into the desert at this point.
Yeah. They were
not good.
They were explaining to me that in the summertime, they live in Phoenix. So, that's fun. They were explaining to me how it's really important in the summertime to cook with the microwave as much as possible.
Because pro tip, as you want as little heat going into your house as possible.
Yeah, right. It's already too hot in there. So you need not to do that. I was like, oh yeah, that's a good. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a friend down in Texas text me and he was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like in my not future-proof home, I can barely maintain 78. And I just responded with tilde weeps in 103-year-old home.
Yeah, true.
But it's not nearly as hot as it is down there. Or in Arizona by a wide margin. So I cannot. Oof. No, thank you. I'm. You know what? I'm good. I'll say no. I'll opt out of that one.
Yeah, it's also just like, yeah, it's not normally above 90, almost 100 degrees like this long in a row. Like it usually gets hot in the summer, but like it's been like 2 whole weeks of like. I know Arizona had like a whole month of over 100. So
look, we'll stop complaining momentarily, but
but we also have humidity, Arizona. Okay.
Yes. Something that you have constantly reminded us for the last 70 years is it's a dry heat, right? Yeah. So how about this?
Damp heat.
Yeah.
Not pleasant.
Turns out nobody likes it. Yeah. It's been
real
more
exciting. Thunderstorm action this week. We had a little bit of that going around. Right? Pretty cool.
Yeah. So
this is the weekend, I guess what it was. We can't remember.
Yeah.
I went outside to I realized that it was like just happened. My phone was like thunderstorm warning, special weather statement. And I was like, I am going to go out and move the trash can. Because Susan and her friends had just got done with their garage sale. So it was extremely full. So I was like, I did not know. I'm getting, I'm going out. And it was late. It was like 11:30, right? But I went outside and it was so windy that like it wasn't raining. But like you could feel that it was the rain getting blown out of the front. Like it was away, right? So it wasn't like it was weird. Like it was like a mist in the air, but it was because it was the gust front blasting all of the rain from the storm forward.
Yeah,
ahead of, which is fun.
So which tells you good times are to be had here shortly.
Told me, oh my gosh, I made it just in time to get this trash can.
Yes,
my neighbors were outside getting a bunch of kids, and they play in the yard a lot, so they were out like scampering the lawn furniture, like table and the chairs and stuff. They were grabbing all that inside too.
Yeah. Better bring that inside. That's for sure.
That table would have been gone.
Yeah. we dealt with that Monday morning down in Springfield. We had limbs down, power outage. We had staff. One of my staff members called me and was like, he's a younger guy, and he was like, "How do I get out of my garage? I don't have power." And I was like, excellent. Great question.
See that red handle.
That's what I did. But it's a very eager person. And so I tend to forget like order of operations for people, because I'm going to say, okay, you see that red handle on that? When you pull it, it's going to, and I hear a chunk.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so I should have, like, depending on how healthy your spring is, it will either only stay down or only stay up from here on out. And we're kind of, stuck with that for a little while.
I mean, I had to get out of his house anyway. It's fine.
I know. I was just like, I like making sure people are fully informed before they make a decision like that.
Yeah,
It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine.
But yeah. And then Monday night. You ready? Okay, Monday night. We're ready. We have storms here in town, and the average within our little town was 6.5 inches over the course of like a handful of hours. This resulted in me being awoke. So on Monday morning, I was awoken at 6 a.m. by my staff member in Springfield calling me saying, all power's out. I can't get out of my garage. On Tuesday morning, I was awoken by my staff member here locally that says, Colin, the road is gone. And I went, I said, I'm sorry. You're catching me at a what? They said,
I mean, I believe you, but
yes.
What?
Well, yeah, they said the road that we usually take, it's gone and it's just covered in water and I don't know what to do. And I was like, did you try and go the other way? So we mapped out the other way. And she called back and she said, it is also, she goes, there's about 4 feet of water over the road. And I was like, cool. Well,
don't drive through it. That's what we know.
Oh yeah. And they're in this little tiny like Toyota Camry. And I'm just like, okay, well, that's as much as we can do right now. We're going to have to brainstorm. I said, go do the rest of your visits. We'll figure this out, right? Like it's not worth going through water to get to this point. Like just hold on. So we had to break out the good old map and find a route that was 20 minutes longer than every other place to come around, like go way out to the east and go super far north and come in and drop in from the north side. It's the only way that we could do this. And so,
holy cow, that's wild.
And also, the client was without power. And so not only was the road gone and flooded from both directions, but she was without power. And this client is in Barcelona. So we're trying to, communicate stuff and not bother her too much, but also like, hey, just FYI. And this is going to lead to a new question that we ask on our client intake form. Who is your electricity and gas provider? Because we kept going to the electrical provider that everybody uses and reporting an outage. And they were like, there's no outage at that house. And we were like, yes, there is. Yes, there is. And so finally, yesterday, I called the random small little co-op that nobody has ever heard of. Oh, hey, this is Betty. Yeah, it looks like there's a power outage at that location. We'll get a crew headed out over today. I was like,
okay, then.
Oh my gosh. So now I'm going to get even more weird looks on my intake form of like, where is your water shutoff valve? Where is your breaker box? Speaking of electricity, who brings it to you? Because
that one guy is not going to like this. He is going to be so grumpy about
he's
this.
So angry. He's not going to understand. And I'm going to have to say, hey, one time somebody was traveling over in Barcelona and we thought that the electricity provider would just take care of it. Turns out they didn't even know there was an outage because she's the only one on this entire road that uses them. And
wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's what she said. She goes, I said, oh, she's off in such and such lane. And she goes, oh, we don't service anybody over there. Hold on. Oh, no, we have one person. And I was like, is their last name such and such? And she goes, yeah, well, we'll get a crew out.
Well, thanks.
I
Thanks
did.
for playing.
Cool. So this was after, and so we were having to deal with rotting food in the fridge and not having any water. Oh, by the way, this client just so happens to have 4 dogs and 3 cats.
Oh, of course. Of course.
I will say that thankfully, and I think this is from their experience over the years, they use massive water buckets for their dogs inside the house. And so usually we would change them out just like every day or two because they get kind of gross with 4 dogs.
Yeah,
but I was like,
get all slobbery and food in there.
But then I was like, well, this is very convenient because I have no water to give you dogs. So
it's already full, so it's fine.
But we topped it off with ice from the freezer and dumped it all in there and got them some nice new stuff and everything. So they have power now. Everything's fine. But it was just one of those like, yes. Okay, well, new thing to the list, I guess. Like, oh my gosh. So yeah, that was interesting. That was not a lot of fun. I don't recommend, but
it doesn't sound very fun.
And we got more storms. We've had more storms every single day this week. Today we had 2 rounds of storms move through. 2 dose.
We haven't had that many. We've had a couple here and there.
I was like,
listeners, if there was any doubt that this podcast is being recorded in the Midwest, just count how many times we start talking about the weather at the beginning of each episode, and that right there, that shoes you in. Okay, that's how you know.
It really. I am working on training. Have I told you the phrase that I'm training the kids on? Have I told you this?
Is it oofta? Because that's an important heritage lesson. Okay,
that's a good one though. No, it is in fact every time it rains. So you're in the Midwest. Every time it rains, what do you say?
I don't know.
Oh, you say we needed this.
Oh, have you? When are you going to start training them on the amount of rain, like toad strangler, right? Downpour, gully washer, right? When does that come into effect? Where is that on the?
That's a bit more advanced. I feel like that's like a 4th grade level.
Oh, okay.
We're not quite there yet. But yes, the gully washer. I mean, we already have obviously like the cats and dogs and sprinkle and stuff. But obviously,
I mean, like sprinkle is like an actual science term.
It's actual science term. So. But the toad strangler that'll be coming soon, I believe. But yeah. I showed him how to walk onto your front porch, put your hand on your hips, and go. We needed this.
There you go.
We needed this. Because you do, So
there you go. Sounds like you already have the rain gauge enacted. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, we do have one.
I was joking with Susan the other day because her mother's new husband, right, and her dad was the same way. Like they were chronic rain gauge monitors.
Yes.
Right? All the time. And so I missed. Like I thought that like when you get a certain age, you just get mailed one. Okay, because I've never seen a rain gauge for sale. I don't know. I've never looked for one in the store.
I will say that ours was we were gifted. So we were gifted not 1 but 2 by
Dad?
By our father. So
okay, that's fine. Because maybe they go to his house. Maybe they go to him. Maybe that's what happened.
I think you just
didn't get my forwarding address.
Yeah,
they get.
You just need to. I think you just need to make a simple. You need to apply for one, and it should be pretty good. But yeah, that's it was. They're learning wonderful phrases. So yeah,
that's good. I'm glad that part of their education is not being stepped over. That's going to be good news.
No, this will be done. We will know. We will know our heritage.
Listeners from around the globe, is there things that you say when it rains outside? Do your local area farmers say random things to you when it rains? I need to know this. This is important demographic information that we're lacking. Okay, we need to know.
Don't know.
Make this.
Yeah. No, get feedback on local. I don't rain comments or local rain something.
It's true, because in Missouri you also say even if it rains a whole lot, you know, the a lot of people will be like, well, you know, it's we're gonna need this later, so might as well, you know. It's like,
yeah, or oh, it didn't need all that at once, right?
that's true. Right, like yeah, like I've also heard the old I'd rather not have it all at once, but at least it's raining, like that, you know. That's
I've literally seen these 3 comments on Facebook posts this week.
Yes,
but if we had to get it, I'm glad we got it, right? Like,
yeah. Then you get the really learned people. They're all the ones that are like real monitors of the situation, and they'll be like, well, that still puts us behind for the year, even though we got a lot recently. You know, that's how you know you're dealing with a professional.
Yeah.
Right. That's what you're
yeah. We one of our clients, so we really whittled down basically all of the clients that come to our home except for like 3. And one still uses us on a very regular basis. This man and his wife are absolute gems. He's 80, mid 80s.
Is that the older couple with they have older dogs too? Yeah.
Yeah. And every time, and they drop him off, and we talk to them. And yes, yeah, he like, you talk about like rain gauge connoisseur. Like, man, he's got this dialed in for like, he knows exactly total amounts versus what we were supposed to have versus like forecasted. And we're talking like almanac stuff out at the car when to pick up and drop off. It's very
right.
They know. It's great.
Yeah, it's real scary when you hear like, oh man, we haven't got this amount of rain since like 1987. You're like, what?
Yep.
What do you mean? How do you know that?
Where was that stored? Right? Like, I don't even what? No, like, yeah, they it's very good at it. So we're yeah, I think we did have here's the other thing, right? We had enough to lift us from the burn ban, so you can have backyard barbecues again.
Hey,
congratulations, peeps.
That's a lot of rain, so that's good.
It was, again, 6.5 inches was the average over our just the city, just within city limits. Like, that was 6.5 inches. So yeah, it just dumped and it was terrible. I mean, again, we needed it, but oh, we last week you gave a review of the Springfield Historic Museum.
Oh yes,
right. I today will humbly submit to you a review of LEGOLAND in Kansas City.
Oh yeah, let's go.
Okay. So we didn't know what to expect. We're bad tourists. We just kind of bought tickets and showed up. So, which is fine, right? People do that. People do that all the time. And both of our kids love Lego. And so we thought, hey, this is where people go who love Lego, right? Like, that was our thought. Have you ever been to a LEGOLAND?
No, I have not. Okay. Susan has been to one. I walked by the one in Times Square, but we didn't go in because Susan had already been in there, and I have a Statue of Liberty Lego magnet, so I didn't really need to go back.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to read to you the general description of LEGOLAND. It says, and this is not, it's not no copyright intended or whatever. Fun, colorful, misspelled colorful because it's got the U in there, and inspirational. LEGOLAND is where awesome awaits for families looking for a great day out or the ultimate vacation experience.
Okay. I feel like that last sentence puts a level of expectation on this experience that cannot possibly be met in any way.
No. This
I feel like we're really overselling.
Yeah, this puts this in league with Disneyland, right? like Busch Gardens. Like this puts it in league with all sort, like a Carnival Cruise.
Big high level activity here.
So, and again, we go online, we know enough just to buy tickets, and we buy them for the day, and we I expect, like, what would you expect to be in a Legoland?
I mean, big Lego statues.
Okay.
Right. I personally would expect a room of just Lego bins and tables with which you could build Lego. I would obviously expect lots and lots of really overpriced Lego for sale. Like weird things built out of Lego, like the architecture and like big like moving things, right? I don't really know.
Mm-hmm. So yes, yeah, I expected lots of like just basically like rooms of bins, maybe guided builds on certain things.
That
like
would be good, yeah.
Like the master builder, that's what they're called. It would come out and give a class on how to build something, like using just the parts.
Like structural build advice, right?
Yeah.
Like the alternating brick thing when you build the walls and stuff like that.
Yeah, or all sorts of or we're going to build this figurine today. Like that's our figurine build, and using like just classic Lego, no custom pieces. How do we build that? Because that's what a lot of the models, the big human sized models and stuff that you see, those are just classic Lego pieces. There's very few custom builds pieces in those, not like that you get in certain sets. So I was expecting that. They had said they had like a cafe for eating.
Well, I mean, yeah, obviously.
Right. Okay. And I expected this thing to be massive.
All the tables to be built out of Lego in the cafe, though. Clearly.
Right. Clearly. And I expected this thing to be huge, like humongous.
No.
So no.
It's terrible.
No. So walk in. Okay. So I will say, here's the end result. I'll just cut to the chase here. If you are a fan of Lego and the Lego universe, pretty cool place.
Okay.
If you like to build Lego, not so cool. If you have watched all of the Lego movies, which they have a little theater in there for you to go see if you have not seen them. They just play them on repeat basically all day long. They rotate through them. If you are not caught up on the Lego cartoons, or you don't know the latest action figure that is a new Lego, or you're not like really in deep with the Ninja series of Lego, all of this is just
I forget that exists.
Yeah. So you walk in, and immediately on your right is a little carnival ride where you sit in like a little Lego thing, and it like a kind of like a tilt-a-whirl where you kind of how else would I describe this? Where like, the ride this is a context that nobody else has, but at that carnival ride where you usually sit in and it's like a big fake balloon, and it kind of the whole thing spins in a big circle, and then it kind of raises and tilts and goes down or whatever. One of those is just sitting over here on the right.
Nice. Listeners, that is a classic ride from Silver Dollar City in Branson, Missouri. In case you're wondering how I know exactly what Colin is talking about right now. Just some context for those of you who have not yet discovered the weirdness of Silver Dollar City. Yeah. Continue, please.
Okay. Over on the left is the Lego VR experience. Where you strap a VR headset to you. You sit in a chair, and then it's like the and then the chair itself like moves, like it goes up and over and around, and it's a VR movie is what it is. Like you're not interacting, whatever, you're just experiencing a race, I think is what it is. You're supposed to be in a car, and it just happens to you. You're just watching it, but it's all Lego visually, but you're in the chair moves and bumps and spins and stuff as you're sliding around on the track and whatever.
Is it just Lego racing? Do you remember Lego racing?
Yeah, it's Lego racing. Okay, so
Lego racing was so awesome. There's a kart game that needs to be brought back. Man,
yeah.
Lego racing was awesome.
Yeah, it's Lego racing. So I really like that game, but imagine that, but it's more cinematic now with how they present it here.
Cool.
Okay, then you go over, and then on your right from that is your first build, and it's a race car to go down a track. And so they have like some very basic pieces and wheels, and you can kind of like putz with it to race and see how you get to go faster. Then on the left is the ninja thing. There's like a rock climbing wall. There is a game where there's a grid of 9 squares on the wall, and then when they light up with your color, you're supposed to like hit it. Then there's a maze where there are lasers that hit mirrors, and you're supposed to not break the lasers when you go through the maze to get points. Okay. But there's no Lego over there. Like, that's just like, oh, you like the Lego Ninja? Now you can be a Lego Ninja.
Look at that.
Okay? And you're like, odd.
That is odd, yeah.
Then there's a huge play set in the corner, like they used to have at McDonald's, all basically ish Lego themed on the outside, and your typical tunnels and webbing and stuff on the inside. That's all the main entrance. Then you turn, and they've got a little what is it? Little train set thing where you can kind of, and here's the other thing that was a little frustrating about this is they would have this immense centerpiece, and this immense centerpiece where everything was done, and but it was all glued into place. Obviously, master builders don't want you touching their bridges. And the train just went around, and they did have little buckets of Lego, but they were just like not very interesting Lego to build, and there were no people to do this. So you could build like a small tower, and that's it. Like it was hard to make it more interactive. They had like a kind of like a girls zone that's kind of more there. I forget what the Lego brand is called, where it's more of like the girl lifestyle brands where they have whatever. Like they had a whole section for that. And they and then they had the Duplo sets for the small kids.
Yes.
Those were all of the build areas.
Yeah, I'm looking at the map on their website, which, by the way, is the least helpful map I've ever seen in my entire life. I just want to throw that out there. Lego, this is really, you have a world-class design team, and this is what you came up with. I'm very disappointed. Right? Just looking at this quote-unquote map.
Yeah.
They put up the attraction map.
No,
it's not good.
Not good. Not good. Okay. The Duplo set was kind of nice because then they had some pieces that were more like giant Lego bricks that was like actual brick size that you could.
Yeah, that's what I would want. Like massive bricks. Right?
Yes.
That'd be really cool.
I would just want a whole floor of those. But they had like 100 or 200 of those in a corner, and you could build a tower or you can kind of make a bridge out of them, really basic stuff. But again, I would like a room just of giant Lego, like all the classic Lego pieces, make them giant. Like, let's do that. And then you can go through the cityscape of Kansas City built out in Lego, and that is cool.
They have interactive,
right? They have interactive buttons that can make things do stuff in the pieces, and of course there was because this is Kansas City, but it's also Kansas. Can you imagine what was also built out of Lego?
Was it Oz?
It was. There were different scenes from the movie Wizard of Oz.
My next guess was going to be Dwight D. Eisenhower's childhood home, but I figure that's probably not.
No, nobody does that. But it's that was neat, and they had basically major scenes of the movie in massive build pieces. And then the cityscape was cool. They had the Arrowhead Stadium, they had where the Royals play, and there were all lights and stuff inside as well.
Well, that's kind of neat.
And then overhead, the lights for the entire room of this segment, the whole thing cycled on a daytime nighttime cycle, which was cool because then you could see the pieces at daytime and at nighttime, and things changed. Because now you could see, because lights came on and then they turned off in the actual buildings. They projected weather onto the white walls behind there. So it was like raining or storming or whatever. There was supposed to be an interactive train that you could drive, but it looked like it had been derailed. So that we couldn't do that. And then in the most obscure thing, you come through that and there's like a haunted forest adventure. And you're like, what?
Okay.
Okay. So you go in here and you sit down in the little cart and it can seat 4 people, which is great because I had 4 people.
You had 4 people. So 4 perfect. People.
I filled it. And you sit down, the bar closes across your lap, and then you pull out a little fake gun. And it's the kind of thing where you're supposed to go around and shoot little targets. But
not like the flooded mine ride, the actual best ride at Silver Dollar City tie-in event again.
Yes, that ride, amazing, like so cool. This ride, again, it's in a building on the 2nd floor, meant for little kids.
The real reason the flooded mine ride is so good is because when you are at Silver Dollar City and it is 1,000 degrees, it's one of the only rides that's like inside. So
yeah, and you're splashed with water, and the wait, even the wait time to go ride it is pleasurable because you're in like a tunnel and you're inside
with fans. That's really why the haunted mine is the flooded mine is the best. It's like a breather, right?
Yes. And so, but this one, like you couldn't actually shoot things on the walls. You had to, what they would do is they would pull this ride thing. It would go right up to a wall, and on there was like a video projection of a Lego scene. And you were supposed to shoot the characters that were coming out at you. And like they pulled you like within 6 inches of this thing. It was a bit intense. And they were like Lego ogres and dragons throwing things. And like you're supposed to shoot. And then the car, it was an actual car on wheels. It would back up and then the whole thing would pivot and you would go along your path throughout this thing. And it would do that like 5 times. And then you were done. And you were supposed to save the princess or whatever from the dragon. But, and that was it. That was what we could do.
That's a little upsetting. Right.
And
what I also wish is in there after you describe this is like displays of like classic or like really old Lego sets. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah.
Right. Like 90s Legos, like those sick pirate ones from the 90s. Those were cool.
Yes.
Or like the old like Night Castle things. That'd be fun to have on there.
There'd be a neat way to turn this into like I like it a little bit. It's kind of a bit of a museum aspect. It's also a little bit of a interactive aspect. But again, this was really for like, oh yeah, you love the Lego universe. Come experience the Lego universe and all the characters. And you're like, I just really want to sit at a table and build. And so this led to, at the end of this, also, it's very loud because this is a pretty small space and there are throngs of people, and like the ninja thing had its music on 11. There's all sorts of noise going on in here. So for kids who are very sensitive to overwhelming situations, like I don't know, my own, this becomes a hard environment to navigate. And so we gravitated as far away from the noisy spaces as possible, which was over by the Duplo for the small kids. And we discovered what was agreed upon by everybody, the best part of this entire thing, which we paid a not insignificant amount of money to be at, was the tables by the aforementioned cafe had like a 5 by 5 inch square base piece that you could get in green, white, tan, or black. And then they just had massive buckets of the single Lego in colors I've never even seen. And what you were supposed to do was piece by piece build a picture of whatever you wanted.
Whoa.
Okay. And so you could imagine like just a blank piece and colors and so it's kind of like building like piece by piece or pixel by pixel. How am I going to make the shape of a heart? Or how am I going to build a turtle, like the picture of a turtle or a flower or whatever? And you could just do that. And what was also neat is that once you built it, they had a massive wall of where you could just stick these up on the wall, grid by grid. And so what would be neat is at the end of the day, because you could come in and see everybody's artwork that was on the wall, and the pictures that they made. And some people had nice messages. Other people had like one guy made this avocado that looked 3D. And I don't know how he did that because I barely made letters. Okay. Because I am not good at this. But it was really like, that was very, like you could see like because there was no like competition aspect, because there was no like, you weren't racing a car, or you weren't just like, this was the place where the Lego people went because they could be, what could they do with it? They were creative. Right. This is where people went. And there were, I mean, the other thing that I liked about this is that it said all adults must be accompanied by a child. I love that. That's very so cool, right? It's very nice. So, there were the kids and dads, and we just grabbed a table and we all sat down and we all plugged and chugged and found. And it was also cool because, what's the other piece about this is the collaborative effort of Lego building. Hey, I need more tan pieces. And so like random kids would hear that you need tan and they'd like bring tan pieces over to you. And then you'd like go give them the black pieces or whatever, or the blue pieces, whatever you needed to make it work. Because each kind of bucket in the middle of the table had slightly different colors, right? It was kind of all just mixed in. So we did this for like, I don't know, 25 minutes.
Nice.
This was everybody's favorite activity, was sitting down and just making our little designs and then hanging them up and having our picture taken next to them. Like that was it. Like we weren't impressed by the giant ninja Lego mascot that walked through. But that was a bit terrifying.
And sounds a bit terrifying, to be honest.
I was like, that's okay. And then we were like, okay, well, we've been through, so we'll leave. And we did. And there was not a single thing that we could have done more other than the VR, but that would have been way too overstimulating at the level that we were. Like I was kind of shocked by just how loud it was. It was really like at the end of it, I was like, man, yeah, if they just had a room where the only noise in there was the of people searching for Lego, I would be all in on that. Like, let's just do that. So it worked. Yes. If you're wondering, we did not buy the annual pass, which allows you to come every day and spend 2 hours here. I don't know what
doing what.
I don't know. I genuinely don't know the value of of that. Because we went once and we kind of asked everybody at the end, we're like, would everybody want to go back? And everyone was just kind of like, I don't know. Like maybe if we're in town again, we don't have anything else to do.
Yeah. Not like soon, like maybe.
Yeah. Like and they apparently they do change pieces out periodically, like that whole ninja corner that was only there for a couple months and then they do something else. But I'm like, I don't want to do more dodging lasers or kicking a wall or whatever. Like that's okay.
It's
do a thing. So anyway, it's very odd, but we went, survived. Yeah, so that's the Lego. I don't know how many Lego pieces I'd give it out of other Lego pieces, but I would just say if you need something to do, and again, like I said, if you're in the Lego universe and you want to see some of your all-time favorite Lego characters in life size, sure, go do it. But it was both underwhelming in like the size and scope and like what you could do, and also overwhelming given the number of people in the small space.
Yeah, I don't know. It sounds odd, right? It's just like, yeah, it's like, I don't know. Yeah. Sorry it wasn't more exciting, I guess. I don't really know.
Hey, I mean, it was still a fun day. in town, and we got to eat lunch, got some pizzas. So like we made a lot of it, and the kids got to pick out a little Lego thing at the end. So it was not all for naught, but yeah, it was like, okay, well, that was done. So it was another experience, which is fine. We went on an adventure, is what we said.
Well, there you go. There we go. Too bad it was a terrible adventure. No, I'm just kidding.
It wasn't. Look, Legoland, like
you gotta do better, Lego. You have so many good things.
Right? Here's the other thing. Like, these are all over the country. Like, there's not just this one. And
yeah,
I don't know why.
What are they doing?
Yes, I don't know. But
it's weird, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know. What else? I don't really know how to make it better, right? It's just like more building, I guess. And like, because it's a weird thing to have like a theme park about, right? Because it's a brick that you build stuff with, and I've never like. It's weird that I know it's to like compete with other things to be like flashy and fancy, right? But like the fact that there is a Lego universe is a bit odd, right? Kind of makes sense, I guess, because they do have all these licensed things that they have, right? Like the Lego Harry Potter stuff and like the Lego Lord of the Rings stuff, and
right,
they have all these properties that are licensed to them, like Batman and all this stuff. Or the best Lego game ever, Lego Indiana Jones. Okay, I'm standing by that one for sure. So it makes sense that you would want to do something and like have access to that, but like ultimately it is a creative building tool. And that's kind of like its purpose is to like build cool stuff. And it seems like having a place where you can go and look at Lego and then like not build stuff seems like a missed opportunity, like like a big missed opportunity. And I feel like that's just kind of weird, right? Like,
yeah, it misses the element of Lego that I personally connect with, which is the freeform creativity. I'm going to take a bucket of random pieces in assorted colors, and I'm going to create something.
I mean, that's true. And that is my favorite part. Also, I say that though, as a person, I just looked around my room here and realized I have many like Lego sets that are just like decorating my bookshelves, right? Sure. Like I have a bunch of like little ones. Like I have in the living room of my house, ladies and gentlemen, I have a whole bookshelf full of Lego Harry Potter.
Harry
sets.
Lego Potters.
Harry Lego Potter sets, just like on a bookshelf displayed with my Harry Potter books, right? It's just all kind of right. And I have them in my little room here. I have some like random cars and stuff that Dad gets me all the time. Still, like I have some. I actually forgot. I have a little like one of the little small ones that that are like $10 or they're probably more now because of inflation. But and it's like a little Hobbit one, and it's Bilbo and Gollum in the cave. I have that little Lego set right here. Right? Probably should have mentioned that a couple episodes ago, but it's fine.
Okay.
I have it though. It's sitting right over here by my TV. It's pretty good. But like I like that part of it too. Like I like building them and looking at like all the little details and stuff like that. And like the ones like that are like movie themed, I keep around because they're like fun and I like those things anyway. But like, that's what I remember as kids playing with Legos. Like we would buy the big set and then we would put it together and then play with that set for a long time. But then it would get recycled into like some new creation, right?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, we had some really cool ones. We had the like the like the forest Robin Hoodie thing right?
Yes.
That one was really cool. I remember we had to have a very long. I had to have a very long talk with the mother. Right. This is how we got that. I don't know if you know the story. The reason
No.
that we got that one is because it was kind of expensive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we were gonna go to the toy store anyway. And I was like, "Listen, Mom, here's the deal. I think it would be better if, like, instead of buying everybody like a little toy, what if we spent a little bit more money and got something really big that we would all like and we could play together? Don't you think that would be great?" She bought it. And so
hook, line, and sinker.
Boom. Nice. It worked. And we did. I mean, I'm not saying that I like lied to Mom, right? But like that's what no. But that's the whole point, right? It's like a togetherness thing. That's how we used it, right? We had them in all those bins and we would just like hang out and like play with them, right? We had like the cowboy one. Those cowboy ones are sick, dude, right? And it's like a creative play device where you can like act out little stories if you're into that. Like that's what I was into and we were into collectively, right? I think like playing out little scenes with the key people and like doing stuff, right? Kind of like making your own Lego universe, right? Because, like, why is this hot rod thing in the middle of a Western town? Don't worry about that. We're just going to go
moving along. Yeah. Yeah.
Moving along because I happen to have that Lego set. That's why, right? The pizzeria and the Old West jail, of course, those exist in the same universe. Boom. Right here on the floor of my house, right? There's no rules.
Exactly. Yeah, free form, right?
Yeah. So, like, kind of harking away from that. It is a little bit odd choice, but that's, that's just maybe my own personal take on it. Like, I'm kind of agree with you, right? There's certain things that make Lego special to me, and that some of those things are not it, right? Like,
yep. It just missed the mark for us. So,
yeah.
It's it is what it is.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah. But yeah, anything? So you wrapped up your garage sale? Sorry, a garage sale was wrapped up in your premises.
Yes. I had to carry things, but that is my lot in life. So
sure.
So yeah, it was pretty good. Did that. That's pretty much all the excitement we've had this week. Really nothing very going on. What else did I do? Made more pasta recipes. There you go. In this ongoing summer project of me learning to cook stuff.
Sure.
Look at that. Bam.
I'm doing it.
I did a thing. I made some pasta broccoli. It was delicious.
Nice. Okay.
So there you go.
Wow.
Yeah. So there you go. It was Susan was like, "You're making this again, right?" I was like, "Yeah,
sure. If that's what we want, right?"
She informed me that is most assuredly what we want, so it's fine.
Wonderful.
So there you go. That's basically been it. Been practicing cooking things. As again, I'm famous for not being able to cook. Is one of my character traits, and so we're working working towards remedying that on at least a small scale for now, right? Doing basic stuff, but just trying to contribute and practice because it's kind of fun making little things right here and there. So trying it out, right?
We've talked about this many times of the finding the areas where safe spaces to fail, of like starting small, going, sure, people get uppity about food sometimes, but going, hey,
that's true.
If this is fine, if this doesn't work, there's a restaurant around the corner that we all like.
True, right? Yeah, I guess some takeout is always an option, right? Like we could fall back on plan B,
It's all going to be okay, right?
Yeah, pretty much. So that's kind of how it's been. But yeah, pretty good. Cool. Made some. Yeah, pasta broccoli was on the menu last time. So it was good. Really good. yeah, that's about it. That's pretty much all I've been doing.
Huh?
Like dreading having to go back to work because that's terrible. It's always really horrible.
Oh,
Like sitting through staff meetings and boring things, watching the same training video for the 75th time in a row. Like, I love it. So that's fun. Just trying to put off that negativity until I have to, right? Like, trying to enjoy the last little bit before it's time to go back and deal with bureaucratic nonsense before teaching actually starts. Because teaching is fine. I like that part. It's the other terrible shenanigans that I don't like. So,
yeah, the paperwork is always what gets you.
Yeah, it's like paperwork. A lot of times I just have to sit there. Like, I just have to like be there, and they like tell me things.
Just have to
like it's horrible, and like it's so like the other thing is a lot of like teaching stuff, right? There's always like peppiness, right? Some of these people are extremely peppy. It's horrible, right? They're like really excited and they're like, oh my gosh, we're going to write down our whys. Like, stop. Just stop. No, I don't know. They like to bring up all that kind of nonsense, like really like team building, peppy, like weird stuff. Like I have things to do. Okay. Let me go do that.
Right. Where you're going like, I really want to go actually do work. I don't know if you run into this of going like, oh, the amount of time that I could have spent in planning, organizing, addressing, like doing all this stuff. Not that prep work isn't important, but sometimes I do feel like I just want to go get this done. Like I don't want to sit here and have another committee meeting about this. I could have actually just got this work done and I could be home. I could be home right now.
Well, it's because like there's a lot of prep work that you have to do for your own class, right?
Yeah.
Like my prep work is different than the English teacher's prep work, is different than the math teacher's prep work, is different than like the fourth graders prep. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of stuff that I have to do that's like very specific to my classroom.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And like, they don't ever give you time to do that. Like, but you talk about all this stuff. Like you give me these big lists of things like, here's our goals and here's the things we're striving to achieve and all that other like positive nonsense, right? But then they like don't ever give you any time to like sit and do it. Like it's like they just like give you like they yell vague like what's that thing I'm looking for? Like bullet point words at you, right? Like buzzwords. There we go. They yell like they just like shout like vague buzzwords at you and then like don't tell you anything else about how to achieve those things. Right.
Oh my gosh.
So you're just like, okay, well, I have things I could do to work towards that goal, kind of, I guess, I think. Mm-hmm. And so if you would let me go do those things, we would be like really good, okay? Because I can like at this point, I know the things that I need to do or like the things that I want to try to change, right? You know what I mean? Like I have kind of a the things that I have areas of focus that I know that I need to work on to like be better and not letting me do that. So like stop it. Those be like, oh, make sure you look at your standards. Like I've done that for 2 years in a row. I've put them in 3 different spreadsheets for you. I'm not doing that again. Okay. Stop it.
Like I don't look. I don't want to.
That's the most frustrating thing, right? Because you're like, okay, like you like because you're the way that I feel about it, and then I'll stop bragging about this because I'm sure it'll happen in the next few weeks anyway. But like I did the thing and then I've moved on to like 2 things down the road. And then they keep being like, oh, let's do this, which is the thing that I did like 2 steps back on my little if we're thinking about this as like a board game, right? I keep like moving forward, and then they like shoots and ladders me back to the start. They're like, "Oh, do this thing." Like, I
know.
did that, right? And then so you get truck in, and they're like, "But now do this." Like, I also already did that. What do you mean? What? This is very annoying.
Do you feel like I don't know if you're had that moment, but I've encountered that where I go like, do we really need to go like I don't know how to say like did the goalposts get moved somewhere along the line, or did I misunderstand where the original destination, like where we were supposed to be heading originally, or
oh no,
are we
the
just all
goalposts
making
definitely
this
got moved. That's what it is. The goalposts have definitely moved.
Sorry.
Yeah, right. So it's like it's not a mystery. It's like, oh yep, the goalpost moved, and then they're all like mad, and then they're like, "What? You didn't even tell us you were moving the goalpost," and then you expect us to like read your brain and be like, "Whoa, I should have known they were going to move." Like, you're ridiculous. You people don't understand anything. Just let me go and do this. Okay, stop it. Like data and numbers and tests are important, but they cannot be the be all end all of how you structure your understanding of how the educational system works. It just is not possible, right? For a myriad of reasons. They're just bad science. And so like it's important, it's good to know, but it's also like, okay, we have to take other variables into account and to deal with them as well, right? Just like one little set of criteria is not useful. You know what I mean? So it's like, when you get admin people love data and numbers and Excel spreadsheets and like things like that are not fun to deal with. And so like
doesn't sound like them at all.
Oh yeah, no. Anyway, I'm not letting that negativity in my brain yet. Sure, it'll happen sooner or later. Right. Think about pasta making techniques, right? That's what we're going to focus on here. Boom. That's where we're going.
Yes. Focus on that.
And I suppose we could focus on journeys. Maybe some inside information.
Yeah, I was going to hopefully might have to learn about some information.
So. Maybe we could gain some inside information. Right?
Dun, 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 dun. We rejoin our intrepid travelers.
Now, before we start, as I was finishing up reading today, I don't know why I didn't think about this before, but like it sort of smacked me in the face, like what I'm reading. And I think it's important here, since this chapter 12 is called Inside Information, that we take a small step backwards and get some inside information about this book as a whole. Right?
Okay.
Before we continue the journey, I think it's kind of worth a shot to do this, right? Because we've remarked on several occasions that this book is very different than Tolkien's other works, right? Like if you read this and you read Lord of the Rings, it reads differently, right? Is that fair to say? Would you agree with that statement?
Very.
Okay. Now, if you read this versus the Silmarillion, it's way different, right? Or like the Lost Tales and some of the other little stuff. It reads, just reading it is really different. And I realized that Tolkien has an explanation for this. Right? There is an in-universe explanation as to why that is. Because the author of The Hobbit is not, in fact, J.R.R. Tolkien. The author of The Hobbit is, in fact, Bilbo Baggins.
Bilbo, yes.
Right? So, There and Back Again is written by Bilbo. Right? Which is why it takes a bit of a different, it reads differently. because it's not the same author, right? So, what's going on here in Tolkien land? Okay, so we have to remember that at some point, Tolkien was, in fact, trying to create a mythology for England, right?
Yeah.
That was his goal.
This aspect of this whole thing and of just his life always, every time I hear about it or I think about that, just makes you go, huh, huh, huh. That's,
right. He did that. He went whole hog. It's well documented, right? He had like Elvish is an actual linguistically correct language. There's two versions of it, right? Based on what we talked about a couple weeks ago. The one group of elves stayed in Middle Earth, the other one left to the Undying Lands, and that caused a schism in the actual language, right? Which caused the two languages to develop differently. Tolkien he's kind of nuts, right? But like in his brain, what happened here, because he was also very immersed in medieval literature, right? Tolkien's like final like answer to this is something called the Red Book of Westmarch, right? Now, Tolkien, in Tolkien's universe, right, this is to be treated as a found document that was then translated by Tolkien into these stories of the Silmarillion, the Hobbit, the Lord of the Rings, right? That's the connection to the real world, right? Based on actual medieval texts. They use this. This is a medieval device, right? Like having like a found literature document that then influences a story, right? This is actually a medieval literature device that was used in stories. Okay, which is weird, but but that's what Tolkien's doing. So, The Hobbit is written by Bilbo. Okay, the Silmarillion is translated by Bilbo from texts from the Library of Elrond in Rivendell during the Lord of the Rings, when like he goes there and he just stays there for the whole time. That's what he's doing canonically. Bilbo is reading these Elvish texts and transcribing them into the common language.
Right. Yeah.
So Bilbo is J.R.R. Tolkien. And then like the Lord of the Rings is supposed to be like Frodo's writing. You know what I mean? And like Bilbo helped, put it all together. But like it's all there. So
and Samwise has a little bit of that. He adds to some of it, right? But,
and some of like the appendices and stuff and the weirdness. Some of that's Bilbo, like researching like little things and putting them in there, right? That's what it's supposed to be. So canonically, this is a found document that was together. And then like I think one of Sam's daughters ends up with the book or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but like this book is found by Tolkien and then translated. Right. So the other thing you have to think about here is that this book is written and narrated by Bilbo. Right. So this narrator is actually supposed to be Bilbo. Right. So it's like he's, it's written in a way like it's real casual. It's like he's telling the story to people. Right. And so, that's why he's like, whenever he talks, like he says like weird things, he's like, oh yeah, but by now you know all about Thorin, right? That's because he knows all about Thorin because he spent so much time with him in this whole thing. Right. So I feel like and like how you get like weird descriptions of things sometimes. And it came to my mind in this chapter in particular, and I'll kind of mention where when we get to it. But like I just realized like, oh yeah, this is Bilbo is supposed to be writing this.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think just like, especially from here forward, I think that's really important information to have. Right. Probably should have mentioned this at the beginning. Sorry, listeners. But like, I feel like
it's fine. It's okay.
I feel like, up until now, it kind of like it just, to me, it's really important starting right now. Right. Because of we're getting a lot, we've already kind of chronicled his journey and his personal growth and stuff. But like, I think starting in chapter 12, it's really important that Bilbo is the narrator and the writer and the author of this There and Back Again tale. Just kind of for the impact that it had. It kind of changes the impact of the story, kind of when you realize that Bilbo is supposed to have written this.
Yes.
Right. And I think that we're kind of going towards that climax event right now. And I just feel like it's a good place to mention that. I didn't want to wait till it was all the way over. That would be really weird. But it was just on my mind today as I was finishing reading. I was like, oh yeah. And you kind of think about it, it just sort of changes a little bit the aspect of the story, right? Some of the things, now you have to contend with is how reliable of a narrator is Bilbo, right? Mm-hmm. That's always a fun thing to throw in there, right? Pretty good, I would say, but prone to some exaggeration. But yeah, a bit. So I think I just wanted to mention that a little bit before we started, because I think that kind of changes some of the context of, especially now towards the end, right, of what we're going to see and what's going to happen and how you frame that, knowing that Bilbo is writing this, I think is some important information to just have and think about.
Yeah, and I think that's I think having that that framing lens for the entire book, but especially here in the latter chapters where we get to see a lot more Bilbo action. I mean, he's been pretty good so far, but there's a lot of there's even more character development through the back half of the book. I really feel maybe not that, but we really now see the reaping the harvest of a lot of the growth that he's experienced, and so that telling of it in that way is important. And yeah, it does, coming from that narrative voice from Bilbo, helps present some of the topics, the ideas, the encounters. It does change how it frames it, and I think how you should interpret it.
Yeah, definitely. So I just wanted to mention that little bit of strangeness here, that kind of understanding the context of the book a little bit, how Tolkien was thinking about this, which is just an insane level of depth and thought thinking about how this works, Yeah. There's all those memes about oh yeah, how authors write, and then the last one's always him yes, you created several functional languages and then built a whole history of the universe to explain how those languages came about. It's not wrong.
I actually just ran across this that same meme today, and I'm texting it to you. Okay. But yes, it is. It will come through in a minute. But yes, I just came across this one today. Yeah, it was how boys tell story, how girls tell a story, how J.R.R. Tolkien tells a story. Using train tracks to show oh yes, he built the whole yard and the switch system and all this stuff. But, nice. So yeah, that's funny that you mentioned that, because I was oh yeah, I just ran across that. So let me send that over. Real quick, real time input from live listener audience here. Did you recommend the Amazon series The Three Pines, or did you not recommend that?
I did, yes.
Okay. Was Rick? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, we had somebody who was interested, somebody in the house who shall not be named, was interested in that. So okay, we can continue on with
it's good.
Chapter 12. Okay.
Susan says the books are really good, that it's based on as well. But
okay. But yes, so yeah, with all that context in mind, we go on into chapter 12, which yet again uses a phrase of it starts off for a long time. How long? We don't know, but we can assume.
Yeah. Dwarfs doing a lot of standing around, you know what I mean? They're not really.
I love that. It's for a long time.
But now it's time for Bilbo to do his task, right, that he was specifically brought for. And again, he's grumpy, right? He's not enjoying being at the mountain still, because he's cross with Thorin when Thorin's like, all right, it's time to go do your job, and he's like, I think I've been doing a lot of work around here, actually. Yes. What have you been doing? Okay. Riding my coattails. Like, I did all this stuff. I broke you out of the dungeon. I brought you down the river. I saved you a lot of times. And now you're going to go throw me into there while you stay out here? Fine, whatever. Mm-hmm. Get over it. So he's not pleased about this.
Yep. But he does say, but anyway, I think I will go and have a peep at once. Now, who's coming with me?
Yeah, nobody.
Nobody.
Although Balin did come inside, he came further than anyone else.
A bit.
He came in with him, kind of down the hallway until the stairs or whatever. So he came in. Balin is the only one that was like, all right, I'll come in a little bit. Right. But we do find out a little bit, spoilers for later in the chapter, but dwarves are not quiet at all. I think we already knew that, really, but it's very so it's best that they don't come anyway. Right.
Yeah, he was not fond of his presence, and he was happy to have him left behind.
Yeah. So as Bilbo goes down, he's talking to himself. I like the now you're in for it at last, Bilbo Baggins. He's just going, and he's like, fine, okay, I'm going. But is this? Yeah. So this part is really interesting, right? And I think that is important. What we talked about, the context earlier. He starts going down, and he's noticing things, right? Wisps of vapor floating up, the red light. There's a red light growing, right? Mm-hmm. He's hearing the rumble, and he stops in the hallway, right? And there's just this little line in this paragraph says, going on from there was the bravest thing that he ever did, right? He's at this point. He's like you can almost kind of visualize like he's at a point of no return now. Mm-hmm. Like he's come all this way from his house. He's done through all this crazy stuff. And this is the moment. He can either run away or he can go and see what now he is 100% sure there is a dragon in here.
Yes.
Right. He knows like all of these little clues, right? The sounds and the stuff, the vapors and the light glowing and all this stuff. Now he knows there is a dragon in there, and he stops, and he has to make this monumental decision whether to take another step or not, right? Mm-hmm. And so, he fought the real battle in that tunnel alone before he ever saw the vast danger that lay in wait.
Yeah.
That's a really powerful sentence, right? Like, there's so much that you can think about with that. Tolkien's very, like, the general theme of a lot of this stuff is, like, it's very, personal things, or, like, the small things matter, mm-hmm. And that's, more so in The Lord of the Rings, obviously. But, like, here you can see, like, out of all of the dangers that he's faced and all of the, like, really critical things that have happened, right? Like, and all the stuff that will come later, again, we're getting some major foreshadowing here.
Yeah. Yes.
But like, out of all the battles that he's already been through, they were chaotic and crazy for all kinds of things. The biggest battle that he's ever faced is in this dark hallway alone in this mountain.
Yeah. And it was an internal battle.
Yeah.
It's a yet another look at how this book, as we've commented again many times, of how the scope of it is very narrow. And it is a I think there are a lot of aspects to it, but it is a story of personal growth personal development of Bilbo, right? All along, it's about Bilbo learning more about who he is, what he's capable of, and this really being the test of that. And a reminder that at some point there will be internal battles that nobody else knows about. I think that's the other aspect of this, of like, this is not privy to anyone else in the story. We are seeing this as told by Bilbo to us of what the real struggle was, of this internal battle that he was taking on, of not against all odds or whatever, but really, like, really takes us and zooms in and personalizes this of like everything that led up to this and that will follow from this pivoted at this moment. Like, this was it. This was upon everything else was hung or strung upon is at this moment. This is what determined it, and this was what it led up to. And I think that's very it happens quietly, alone, in a tunnel, in a mountain, right? And it was this moment. And I love that it wasn't a major battle, or it wasn't a big epic scene, or the spiders or stuff. It was this. No external things except the red light and the vapor and the snoring or the growl, the purring of a large cat, whatever. It's like, I love how just it's very poetic how it's presented, and how you can reflect into your own life and go, oh my gosh, like how many times were there moments like that nobody else knew, but it was really hard for me to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like there are external struggles and there are internal struggles. And right, even though we don't always we can't always empathize and kind of put ourselves in the shoes of the external struggle, because we haven't experienced like that kind of stuff, right? But like the internal struggle is like a very universal thing, right? We all have internal struggles that we deal with all the time, and nobody knows about them, right? And that's highlighting that here, where the whole rest of the book has largely been about external struggles, right? This quiet moment, just reminding everybody that there are internal struggles also. They can be bigger and more impactful than any external struggle that you might go through, right? It's just a quiet moment in this tunnel, right? It's quite profound little moment here in this paragraph, right? It's very, it's pretty intense, so you can't also help but think about Tolkien in a trench in the First World War, right? Like, waiting for something, like, you kind of can't help but put that spin on it too a little bit, right? Of the author's own experiences, right? But it's a universal. It could be anybody's experience.
Exactly.
So, yeah. There we go. Anyway, he decides to take that next step.
Yep.
And oh boy. Oh boy.
Boy, does he. The galore of Smaug, right?
Right, yes. Now, it's interesting that we go here from this quiet moment of introspection to literally in the next coming paragraphs. This other part that I thought was really good was that to say that Bilbo's breath was taken away is no description at all. There are no words left to express his staggerment. Since men changed the language and they learned of elves in the days when all the world was wonderful.
It's a lot, right?
Yeah. Like he has no description. No way to accurately describe what he is seeing. Right? It's like he's heard the stories, he's heard about this stuff, he's doing the things, he kind of describes the dragon a little bit, but ultimately it is so outside of anything that he's ever seen or heard about that he has no word to describe anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and at the same time, again, this kind of a little bit of foreshadowing, but not only is he awestruck by the dragon, He's also
struck by the hoard.
Yes, the splendor, the lust, the glory of such treasure, and had never yet come home to him except at this point, right? Like to Mel's like, okay, yeah, they're wealthy. There's a lot of gold under the mountain, and then
right. When he's just heard about treasure. That's all that the dwarves have said, right? Didn't really give any sort of qualifying thing. But this is like a whole entire room that's piled up full of treasure with the dragon sleeping on it. What? What? Like, he was not ready for that, right? He was probably thinking like a couple treasure chests, some nice shiny things. No, not a room full of treasure. It's insane. Yeah. He's just like, and
I don't really know how at no point he was preoccupied with a lot of other things along the ways. Like, surely at one of the songs that was alluded to in this, like, it came up, but at all those points he was like sick. He was missing his handkerchief. He was, recovering or like fighting off spiders or like all this stuff. Like, he was going through a lot. So it's kind of funny to me, like, he gets to this point and now, like, but I guess also, like, there's no way you could prepare for this. Like, there's nothing that they could have told him. Like, even if they were like, no, you have no idea, he'd be like, no, I'm sure I have some idea. It's like, no, like, this is going to be intense, right?
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Like, it's just so beyond his reasoning that he's just like standing there staring, mouth agape at like, what in the world? And I think too, it in this next little part, right? It kind of, his expectations make a little bit more sense, right? Because he was hired to burgle, right?
Yeah,
to like potentially steal the treasure back, right? And he's standing there going, there's no way I could burgle this, right? Yes. So he just like grabs a cup and runs away, right? This is like his little test run, he's like goes down there. He's just standing there. He has no idea what to do. He's like, oh my gosh, there really is a giant dragon. This is more treasure than I could ever imagine. I'm going to take this cup. Let's go. I'm going to go show everybody that it's here, I guess. And, and again, if his, expectation was, I'm going to steal the treasure away from the dragon, there's no way this is happening, right?
No.
Possible. No. The task is now impossible.
Yeah. But he takes the cup up anyway, and everyone, yet again, everyone's like super excited. It's wonderful, like the treasure's there, and then it's all dashed very quickly, right? Like when it says, the dwarves are still passing the cup from hand to hand and talking delightedly of the recovery of their treasure when suddenly a vast rumbling woke in the mountain underneath, as if it was an old volcano that had made up its mind to start eruptions once again. I wonder what could that possibly? Who knows, right? Then the dwarves forgot their joy and their confident boasts and cowered down in fright.
Yeah, right. Which Smog was still to be reckoned with, right?
Right. Like
I also like this, right? It does not do to leave a live dragon out of your calculations if you live near him, right?
I love that so much. It's because you go, right. Oh, yes. There's a dragon. And okay.
I mean, Bilbo brings that up. And it's brought up several times in the next chapter, right? They have this big plan about how to get there, about what they're going to do, about their route, about how they're going to get inside, about getting inside. They never really address the plan about what to do with the dragon. Right? They never talk about that.
No.
So
interesting.
That's a bit of a problem, right? Like they sort of forget to do that.
And I just and we get into this now with just these descriptions of like these are just gushing with meaning, I love almost everything. I mean, this entire book, but like Tolkien really knows how to lay it on. And when he describes this next part of the dragon and the gold, it's just dripping with I don't know. It's just so good. When he says dragons may not have much real use for their wealth, but they know it to an ounce as a rule, especially after long possession. And Smaug was no exception. He had I love this part. He had passed from an uneasy dream in which a warrior, altogether insignificant in size, but provided with a bitter sword and great courage, figured most unpleasantly. Right? Like,
yes.
Oh, yeah. Again, this what all is taking place and being directed or not directed in these elements, right? You have these larger forces possibly at play in this, even in this tale.
Yeah, for sure. And so, yeah, now the dragon's awake. Dang it. What do we do now?
Yes.
So basically, it's they're kind of at a loss. Now they're like, oh dang it. Now though, they are like, we have some people that are just outside still down by the river. We should probably go tell them that the dragon's awake because we don't want them to be slain. Right. Bomber, or Biffer brings this up, right? That Bomber and Bofer are still down there, which is a problem.
Yes. Yep. We have to quick, right? We have to do something about this for sure. I love when he before he runs out. It says to hunt the whole mountain till he had caught the thief and had torn and trampled him was his one thought. It just immediately shows just how fixated he is on this, and nothing's really going to stop him until he's satisfied with getting his. Let's circle back to this. His one cup, right? His one cup. His one. Okay, just so everyone's clear on this. He is one cup.
Yeah. And so he like the dragon leaves because he doesn't know about the like side door.
Yeah.
Right. It mentions that he, had thought that he heard something up there once and he meant to like smush it and make it, but he never got around to it. Right.
Yeah. But he was never all quite uncomfortable with not knowing what was up there. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he busts out the front door and is like flying around the mountain to look. And so they, scamper inside and like close the door, but like not all the way because they don't know if they can open it again. So they like just leave it open a crack so they can get in there, like put a rock in the door. They do the old put the rock in the door so it doesn't close all the way thing.
Yeah.
But then
they get everybody in there and what's it say? Oh yeah, ponies are screaming in terror.
Yeah,
right. So he's so sorry.
He ate some horses. Whoopsie daisy.
Yeah, and they're just hiding in there as he's out scorching the mountainside.
Yeah, but we get some. He doesn't know who is there. He doesn't know why they've come. He just knows that there are people there. He thinks that it's people from Lake Town, right? But this, again, how much does the dragon obsess over this, right? Long he had hunted in vain till the dawn chilled his wrath, and he went to his golden couch to sleep and to gather new strength. He would not forget or forgive the theft, not if 1,000 years turned him to smoldering stone, but he could afford to wait.
Yeah.
What?
Oh. Gosh.
So yeah, that's fun. Now the dwarves and Bilbo are back to bickering about what to do, right?
I love this. They debated a long time on what was to be done, but could not think of any way of getting rid of Smaug. which had always been a weak point in their plans.
Yeah, right.
As
like
Bilbo felt inclined to point out.
Yeah, they just never brought it up. And Bilbo's like, "What are you guys gonna do?" And they're like, "I don't know, Bilbo. What do you think we should do?" And he gets all grumpy again,
Yep.
as he should. He's like, "I was not engaged to kill dragons. That is a warrior's work. But to steal treasure, I made the best beginning I could. Did you expect me to trot back here with the whole horde of Thror on my back?"
Yeah. It's like, what? Are you kidding me? Yeah. Oh, yeah. And they do go back and forth of like, yeah, what do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do for a while, right?
Yeah. But so they wait again.
Yep. Oh, and we get another. I want a book. I don't know. I'm not sure if this exists, but like, I just need a book of all of Bilbo's dad's sayings. Because we get another one dropped here where he says every worm has his weak spot, and I don't.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. Of course, it's a worm, right? Like what? Anyway,
but now he decides, it's sort of decided that the best thing that we can do is I'll go back down there and check out and see what's going on. Right. Okay. So after he says that, they go down there. He goes down there again.
Oh, had he known more about dragons and their wily ways, he might have been more frightened and less hopeful of catching this one napping.
Yeah. So they wait upstairs again for a long, undetermined amount of time. And they're like, well, maybe he'll be back asleep and I can go down there and, look a bit more, check him out. But although Smaug certainly looked fast asleep, he was only pretending.
he had forgotten or had never heard about dragons' sense of smell. Yes. It is also an awkward fact that they can keep half an eye open while they sleep if they are suspicious.
Which is, an interesting trait to have.
Interesting. It is an awkward fact. Oh, man. Yes, indeed.
So he is invisible during this time. He puts his ring on to do this, but Smaug can, in fact, smell him. So Bilbo starts using his only defense he has, his honeyed words, to sort of placate the dragon, right? He sort of plays up his Smaug's splendor, right? And then he starts like being very coy with the own answers to his question, right? But I like, he's telling him, he's giving him titles like, oh, I am, I come from Overhill and Underhill, and I am the famous the Barrel Rider, right?
Love that one.
But I like, this is of course the way to talk to dragons if you don't want to reveal your proper name, which is wise, and don't want to infuriate them by flat refusal, which is also very wise. No dragon can resist the fascination of riddling talk and of wasting time trying to understand it, right? Yes. And so Bilbo's got his practice kind of being coy and riddly with the old Gollum in the cave, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he's being all, oh yes, maybe I can. He has to talk his way out of this. He's not going to fight a dragon. So this is his only recourse, really.
Yeah.
Is to use his brain and his words to sort of get out of this situation if he can. And he's trying to not answer questions, and Smaug's all like, you and the dwarves, and Bilbo's like, dwarves? What do you mean, dwarves? I don't know.
Don't know what you're talking about. Yeah.
But Smaug knows the smell and taste of dwarves better than anyone else, apparently. And so
sure.
but again, now, right, we are exposed to some dragon treachery as well, because now he starts throwing his own defensive tactics at Bilbo, which is to plant doubt in his mind, right?
Uh-huh.
I suppose they are sulking outside, and your job is to do all the dangerous work and get what you can when I'm not looking for them. And will you get a fair share? Don't you believe it? If you get off alive, you will be lucky. So now Bilbo starts thinking like, this discourse goes on, and he starts questioning like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to get a share of the treasure. How am I going to get it home? There's all these logistical problems that he's never thought about before, and now he's like, oh, so Smaug is planting doubt in his mind about the sincerity of dwarves, right?
Yeah,
and all that. So that's now getting this psychological battle of Bilbo versus the dragon.
And there's also other trickery at play here. It's talking about when Smaug's roving eye seeking for him in the shadows, which is, again, some other interesting connection to another roving eye in later books.
That's true.
That kind of makes you want to do certain things. Anyway, he wanted to brush out and reveal himself. And then the book says, in fact, he was in grievous danger of coming under the dragon's spell. Right. But he plucks up his courage and he continues.
I think that's a bit of the ring responding to the dragon as well, right? Because
yes,
the ring wants to be found.
So I've been told.
Yeah. But yeah, now he's got all this doubt, right? He's got all this doubt and all this stuff, and he's just very confused now. Now he's like, now a nasty suspicion began to grow in his mind. Had the dwarves forgotten this important point too? Or were they laughing in their sleeves at him all the time? Right. But he changed his tact, right? He changed his tact. He's like, okay, fine. I'm not going to think about that right now. I'm not going to dwell on that. Boom. We're not here to steal your treasure. They're here for dun, 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 revenge, right? Which Smaug thinks is hilarious, right? He's like,
yeah, he really did laugh.
So he thinks that's so funny, right? But now Bilbo's turn to be sneaky again. He's all like, Smaug's all gloating, like, when I was little, maybe I was a little scared, but now I am old and strong. My armor is like tenfold shields. My teeth are swords. My claws spears. The shock of my tail a thunderbolt. My wings a hurricane. And my breath death. Right? And to which Bilbo responds, that's cool. I heard that dragons' bellies, though, were like, not as fortified as all that.
Yep.
So Smaug, being the prideful dragon that he is, right, says your information is antiquated. And he sort of rolls over and exposes his stomach to Bilbo, which is a weird visual. But what's happened here is Smaug has laid on these like gemstones and stuff so much that they have embedded into his scales on his stomach and basically fortified his underbelly, right? And he sees that, and Bilbo's like, "Oh yes, how could I know?" But this is 100% not 100% true, because he does espy at least one area that is vacant of all defense. Dun, dun, dun. That won't be important later. No, everything's
no, it's everything will be okay.
Yeah, it's fine. And so Bilbo leaves again, although he does make a really smart aleck remark to the dragon that shoots fire at him on his way out.
Oh, yes.
He's like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that. That was not a great decision.
Ponies take some catching, I believe, after a long start, and so do burglars.
Yeah,
it was an unfortunate remark. I love that.
Yeah, good job, Bilbo. Right. So now we are back in the same situation. We're talking to the dwarves about this stuff, but he does say he tells them about this weak spots, which they are very intrigued to hear about, right? Then their talk turns to dragon slaying, right? Historical, dubious, and mythical, and all the various sorts of stabs and jabs and undercuts, and the different arts and devices and stratagems by which they had been accomplished. More on that a little bit later, but now though, so we're all here talking and stuff, and is this where? Hold on. Ah, yes. So he brings up his doubts that the dragon planted in his minds, right? And Thorin's like, "Oh yeah, you're right. We didn't really think about that, but we'll do whatever we can to make sure that we're not trying to trick you or anything. Just some oversight, just some oversight." Blah blah blah. So that's kind of put at ease for now. But they start thinking about the treasure, and they start kind of thinking about the stuff, and now Thorin starts to fixate a little bit. Right? We get our first sign. Some weirdness going on here, right? Because now the dwarves are all talking about the treasure, and talking about all the stuff that's in there, and the hammer and some necklaces and shields and all kinds of stuff. And Thorin starts muttering about the Arkenstone.
Yes.
Dun, 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 yes. Dun, dun. We get our first little taste of he's acting a little bit weird here. You know what I mean?
Yep. Bit fixated.
He's fixated. Yeah. Although they do have to cut that short because
oh, yeah.
Bilbo is like, guys, we he gets this really bad feeling and is like, we need to shut the door. Shut the door. We need to come inside. And it's a good thing they did, because the dragon is once again flying around the mountain outside, and he is like, right as they shut the door and run down the hallway, they hear the sounds of something smashing into the mountain outside, which would be Smaug's fury once again. He's looking for how they got in, right? And so he broke. he's looking for all that. He's looking for them, but he's out, flying around.
Oh, I like we are yet again big moments, little details. In the midst of the complete destruction of the mountainside, the splintering of rock and stone, we are specifically told to their little lofty camping ground, the scorched grass, the thrush's stone, the snail-covered walls, the narrow ledge, all disappeared in a jumble of smithereens, which is interesting because it's like, of all of the destruction, we're going to specifically fixate on the snail-covered walls. That was what was that was also destroyed.
Yeah, they that's where the thrushes were eating their snails. It's fine. So yeah, now they are trapped inside. They have no door. Because Smaug broke it. And again, now they don't know what to do. In the meantime, the dwarves sat in the darkness, and utter silence fell about them. Again, we're in here hanging out.
Yep. And Smaug is making a trip down to the lake.
Yeah, but we don't know about that yet.
No, yes, we do. At the end of the chapter.
Or at the end of the chapter, yes.
Yeah, but yes.
The end of the chapter basically tells us, if you're wondering where Smaug was, you'll find out next chapter.
Yes, yeah. But they say he's at least headed there. We know that point. But yes,
yeah, he's out flying around. And so that leaves them in the mountain alone. Although they don't really know that for a while.
Nope.
Right.
They don't.
They're kind of confused. They're like, let's go down again. Bilbo's like, I don't want to go down there again. I've already been down there twice. But he's like, okay, fine. Let's all go, though. Right. which is where we learn that it's good that Bilbo went by himself the first times, right? Because the dwarves could not, of course, compare with the Hobbit in real stealth, and they made a great deal of puffing and shuffling with the echoes magnified alarmingly.
Mm-hmm.
But they do make it all the way to the bottom, where Bilbo's sort of like in testing whether or not the dragon is there. He decides to yell insults at Smaug, which is a plan, because I don't really know what he thought was going to happen if the dragon was home. Like, I didn't.
Yeah, they can't get out. I don't know. So yeah, he already had flames shot up at him at once. So I don't know.
Yeah, so he says, "Go get we need some light. Go get some light, and we can look around here." So he sends some of the dwarves to get their tinder boxes. They make some little torches, and they start exploring the halls, the dwarf halls, right? And so, they're just kind of going around, and Bilbo's, they're kind of all going their own little directions, kind of looking off. Bilbo starts heading across the floor, looking around for stuff, right?
Oh, I love this. Well, this is partly, where Bilbo has the light, and it says, as Thorin carefully explained, Mr. Baggins was still officially their expert burglar and investigator. If he liked to risk a light, that was his affair. They would wait in the tunnel. But they eventually do go off.
So they haven't gone out yet. But Bilbo, though, he just goes straight across. He's going across the middle because he's looking for other doors and stuff on the other side. But as he is climbing across this mountain of treasure, he stood upon the top and still went on. Then they saw him halt and stoop for a moment, but they did not know the reason.
It was for a very interesting reason, I would say.
Yes. So Bilbo finds the Arkenstone somehow, just laying in this pile, right? So Bilbo guessed from Thorin's description, but indeed there could not be two such gems, even in so marvelous a hoard, even in all the world. Which is a very excellent description here, right? But he's very taken aback by this. He's just sort of like gazing at it, right? He's it's very taken aback, and he's just, suddenly Bilbo's arm went towards it, drawn by its enchantment. So he's almost like absent-mindedly just grabbing it, right? But it's interesting, his response to this, right? He says, I suppose I must tell the dwarves about it sometime.
Sometime.
Right? Like, he's almost wary of this thing, like, now, right? He's like, yeah, I'm just gonna hold on to this for a little bit. We'll see.
And he's rationalizing this stuff, right? He's rationalizing. He's going, they did say I could pick anything, right? They'd say I could pick my own share. So like, like this is my share. Like, this is be fine. Right?
Yeah.
But he had an uncomfortable feeling all the same.
Yeah, he wasn't really just pleased about this thing either. So he keeps going. He's looking. He finds another door, and he's gonna peek about and see what goes in. And he gets scared by a bat and drops his torch. It's really funny. He starts shouting, right? But he starts crying out to the dwarves, and they have to come rescue him. Right. Which is funny. They bring more light, and now they're all sort of gathering around and looking around, and they've been.
I just love. I'm sorry, like how this is described, where he goes, "They waited for a moment or two, and still there were no dragon sounds." And I just,
it's like,
what? What exactly were we? Okay, sure, fine. This is where, like, this is genuinely like. There is getting back to Bilbo writing this, there is an air of humor to this, as only somebody could retell after having gone through a very traumatic time, right? Like, this is the retelling with a bit of a humor of something that was immensely stressful, highly dangerous, and he survived. So of course there's going to be bits of things that were funny in how he paints the dwarves in these moments.
Exactly. Right. Um, and so, now that they're satisfied that there is, in fact, no dragon at home, they become emboldened and they start sort of like exploring about and they start, you know, grabbing some of this treasure and stuff it in their pockets.
Yep. As they're going on. Yeah.
Right. You know, they were looking at all kinds of stuff. They were like finding stuff and playing the harps on the wall, right? Like, good.
But Thorin was searching for something that that couldn't quite find.
Yeah.
Couldn't.
But he spoke of it yet to no one.
Nope. He's troubled by this, though.
He is troubled, right? He's not being very thorny currently. Although they did find the armory, which that's a good place to start, right? That's very nice. They found weapons and armor stashed away, and they give Bilbo some of his very own armor, right?
Yeah, that very won't play into anything later.
No, nothing ever again. You'll never see this coat of mithril ever.
Of what? We don't know. We don't know.
It says. He says right here, it was a steel.
Oh yes,
a silvered steel, which the elves called mithril, and it went with a belt of pearls and crystals, and a light helm of figured leather, strengthened beneath with hoops of steel, and studded about the brim with white gems, was set upon the hobbit's head. Mm-hmm. So this image, it just sounds hilarious, right? Like, like this really shiny, like regal armor placed on Bilbo, the travel weary hobbit, who's like. Right. He even remarks on this. I feel magnificent, he thought, but I expect I look rather absurd.
Yes, which I'm sure he did.
Which is funny. All the same, though, Mr. Baggins kept his head more clear of the bewitchment of the horde than the dwarves did. Oh, uh-oh. What's that mean? That can't be a good sign, right? Now their thoughts turn to what they should do next. Their treasure is not won back yet. They're trying to figure out a way to get out of here, right? And so they start looking for the door because they can't do anything if they're still stuck in a mountain. And as of yet, they have not found the front door.
No, they have. They're kind of wandering. That's for sure.
But Thorin is like, okay, recovering his wits. What? Interesting. He knows where he is, right? He's got his bearings now. He's in the main hallway. He's seen the stuff. He knows where he is. So he says, I know where to go. Not in 1,000 years could I forget this place. Let's go. Follow me.
Yeah.
And so they do. They make their way. They sort of, the rest of this is like describing a little bit about the place, and how interesting and how weird it is in there. But they make it to the door, right? Mm-hmm. I never expected to be looking out of this door, is what Bilbo says. And I never thought I'd be so pleased to see the sun again and feel the wind on my face. And then because Bilbo is a hobbit, he realizes that he's a bit hungry.
Here we come back and around.
Yeah, yes. And we do realize we've been in here for 2 days, basically. Right? Because he's like, I don't know. He's like, I've missed breakfast today. And who knows how many others.
Right? How many others? Yeah, again.
I feel that a lot. Though. I really feel that.
Yeah. Again, relating back to who knows how long this has been. Like, we're all like really, it's all unsure at this point. But yes, he's a bit hungry.
It's true. So
and they tell him, okay, great. I know you're hungry. We need to go marching to a new location.
Yeah, it's gonna be several hours walking. So let's go, buddy boy. Right. And they do. They walk up they're headed to a guard tower, right, on the mountain. That's where they're headed to because it's a little bit of it's a little bit away from the thing, right? And they're hoping to kind of regroup in that spot and kind of come up with the next step of their plan. So that's where they head. They head up the mountain, up to where Dale was, up to an old guard tower up there to the Raven Hill. Yes. And so that's where they go. They head up there. And that's kind of where we stop. They get there and they're discussing the plan. That's where they are. There was no sign of the dragon, but that was not yet anyway. That's where they are. They found a little spot up on the mountain in the guard tower. They got a room, big room back in there, kind of tucked away, hidden, safe for now, hopefully. And that's where they are regrouping to see what happens next.
And we end on so many mysteries, right?
There's a lot of unknowns.
These little things like what's it say? But and in the south there was no sign of a dragon, but there was a gathering of very many birds, right? And at that they gazed and wondered, but no one nearer to understanding it. Right? I love that.
Yes. So we still have a great many. We haven't really solved any of our problems yet. We'll have to see what happens here. But that's where we are. Great many unknowns, but at least Bilbo is in a slightly less precarious place than he was before, right? For now, anyway. So we've regrouped. We've seen the treasure. We know the dragon is real. We still have to solve the problem of how are we going to kill a dragon? The one part of the plan that nobody's remembered to think about until now.
No.
Which again is a bit of an oversight, right?
Fair enough.
And all the planning, I feel like a little bit more attention should have been paid to that part. But, it's not Bilbo's area of expertise, right? So we'll have to see how it goes.
And just foreshadowing here again, we just went through a very very, very personal, intimate, quiet moment in the tunnel. Things get real big real fast, very complicated. Like I think the end of this book just really, it does take off like a rocket from this point. Like it's like amazing, as many of these things do, when all of a sudden, like, I just want to do this thing, and now there's like 7 people over here doing this thing, and how did this get to this? This is really big, and it's very it just the contrast between those two, what we're about to go into is fascinating.
I mean, yeah, we've been getting foreshadowing the whole book about like big things to come, right? And we're running out of book.
Yeah.
So like there's not a whole lot of time for those things to happen. So yeah, the end of the book hots up real quick.
Yeah.
Because there is a lot to do, and there's a lot of things that have been alluded to this whole time. A lot of things that have been alluded to and foreshadowed that haven't happened.
Yeah. So, and to think we spent 2 chapters like admiring Beorn's bees.
Yeah, right. Like the pacing is a bit wonky, right? But again, I think that comes back to who is the narrator of this book, right? Some of that
makes for sure
a little bit of sense, right? Because like, we kind of skip over like wandering in a forest because that's like a forest, but like the bees though, right? And yeah, I'd write a lot about getting my breakfast brought to me by a sheep, right? That's pretty weird.
Well, and I think
a different experience.
That the details that we're luxuriating on here, I think, also show you that personal narrative of like that took up a lot of time for him. Yeah, that spent like ages, because now like all concept of time is lost, and things get out of hand so quickly in the back half of the book. There's just so much, and there's a lot of stuff that like he's not privy to, or like, again, it does just feel so out of control from that personal level.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good way to think about it, right? There's a lot going on outside of him, where up to now it's been relatively everybody all together, all experiencing the same things, right? And so like Bilbo's experiences are broadly similar to the dwarves, right? Even though he's like more enamored with like, Beorn's house. But, then again, Bilbo likes his house, right? And it makes him homesick. And so he's thinking about being at home when he's in this other home, which is like so familiar and yet so weird at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the end, we'll find out there's the crazy amount of things that happen here in just a few more chapters. Yeah.
So good stuff. I'm very excited about this.
Yes, me too.
Okay. Well, very good. Excited to cover these last one. How much more do we have?
That's what I was just looking at. I was just looking through my table of contents here.
We're at chapter 14.
We're at 14?
Well, we got 5. Yeah. We're
coming
5? Up. Well, we have to cover fire and water, so there's 6, including fire and water.
Oh, okay.
Because there's 19 chapters. So
yes. So the next one will be So those two, and those two. Boom. Okay.
That
3 more weeks because there's 6 more chapters. Kablam.
Ah. Yeah. And when do you, as far as your timeline, like when do you start like school and stuff? Is that coming up really fast? Because I know your weeks kind of get insane then.
Yeah, but I'll have to read. That's no problem.
Okay.
So that'll be fine.
Okay. That's perfect. Well, we will go deal with some fire and water. It's
indeed
not a cool band. Fortunately,
that's Earth, Wind, and Fire, though.
I know exactly. That's why I said it's not a cool band.
Could be. Tolkien has inspired a lot of musicians, so maybe it is. Maybe there is a band out there called Fire and Water, and we don't know about it.
Hopefully. Hey, and with that bombshell and mystery that there's no possible way of knowing.
No,
we'll call it a night.
All right.
Okay. Love you.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.